Hi, good evening. Welcome to my daily live session on mindset. How are you doing today? Today's sharpening topic for the week is teams. So let me start with the teams, and after that, speak a little about mindset, and then conclude with the regular meeting, which I keep talking quite regularly because that is the way to change the mindset. As far as the teams are concerned, something which really strikes me when I think of a team is a self-governing team. What is a self-governing team? Imagine you have a situation where you have a team in your organization. It could be a business enterprise, or it could be a social enterprise, could be a NGO, could be a service sector, hospital, or wherever you are working. And do you have a team which is self-governing? What do you understand by self-governing? One is that this team is capable of consistently delivering the results, the outcomes that are expected. One is there are outcomes which are to be done continuously, which could be delivery, could be service, which is to be done without compromise, without any defects. That is one aspect of it. The second aspect of the team is to continuously keep improving, because both are equally important, so that we achieve some productivity over time. And productivity is something which is key for long-term sustainability of any company or any organization. Even if it's an NGO, productivity is something which is required, because as you move along, the demands of your stakeholders keep increasing, and to meet those demands, productivity is very important. Therefore, are your teams self-governing in terms of first achieving the regular activities, and at the same time being able to continuously be productive? So let us take a team let us say we have a team which is in a very generic sense, a cricket team, team which is playing a cricket match. Are they in a position to deliver consistent results and then continuously keep improving upon their performance as they graduate and move from league to maybe more professional cricket, and as they qualify, or maybe if they're a national team, they would start at least participating in some international competition, and then start winning the medals and winning the medals consistently. And to win the medals consistently, it is necessary to keep improving, because other teams also are equally improving. Now, if suppose such a situation were to be there, let us say you have such an ideal situation where the teams are self-governing, and you just give them a target, tell that, look, you have to achieve this, and they're in a position to achieve that. What should be the conditions for that? That's something which I want to talk about, to really create such self-governing teams. The first and the foremost is that they need to be very clear of the purpose. And the purpose is something which is what that drives everyone in the team, and they should have a common shared purpose. That is the first most important aspect. And after that, once the purpose is clear, then the next activity would be to, or the next topic would be to have clear boundaries. What is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what are the rules of the game? And that should be something which is very clear to everybody. It need not be written somewhere, but at least they should be clear in terms of their understanding, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what is the way to approach, what is the way to behave. That kind of a guideline should be there, that kind of an etiquette should be there. And that's what makes the team a single entity. And the second aspect, first is the purpose, second is the boundaries, and some kind of a guideline, some kind of a value system should be developed. These are the two things which are fundamental. And then, of course, you need people with competence. They have to continuously keep learning, continuously keep developing themselves. And that can happen also within the team itself, because if the team members challenge each other, that also could be a good motivator for each one of them to learn continuously. This is an ideal situation where you have a team which is self-governing, which is able to define what they want to do, and then they are able to also understand what kind of targets they have to accomplish, and go for that particular target. Imagine building an organization, something like that, where you have a you can call it the community organization structure, where there is no hierarchy at all. The hierarchy is only based on the expertise. You can call somebody as an expert who would be a guide, and somebody who's a master who could possibly train and coach people, mentor people. But otherwise, there is no hierarchy, and teams can form themselves on their own and try to go and get the goals achieved. Should such a thing be there? First is there should be a clear purpose which is available, and the second is that the purpose should be split into small deliverable goals, which could mean that you're doing something consistently. If it's a project, it's a little different, because in the project case, you have some project, it will work for about 3 months, and after that, the project is done. And then you again possibly form a different team, because for a different project, you need a different set of skills and abilities. Whereas if it is continuous operations, continuous delivery, then you need a team which is constantly working together and constantly engaged in that particular production. At the same time, they're in a mode of continuously improving their productivity. If that has to happen, then there should be small packages which one should be able to deliver. That's something which is a kind of an ideal situation, isn't it? Don't you think so? I want to now share an experience which I had in Germany sometime in 2005, I think, wherein one company won an award for uh, excellence in terms of managing their employees and managing their teams. So let me explain as to how that company was working, so that that could be a good insight. And then after that, we'll ask as to why it doesn't happen in the other cases. And then obviously my answer would be mindset. And then I talk about mindset. So this company had a product which they were manufacturing, and then they said that, look, we need to really promote the suggestion system. Suggestion is something which is going to give you increase in productivity, because any suggestion means that there is either a reduction in time, or a reduction in the materials you're using, which would increase the productivity. Productivity is nothing other than how much amount of value addition you are bringing with the same number of people. And as that increases, you are able to give more value to the customer. That's the whole principle of productivity. Productivity is always measured with respect to a previous time frame. It's not an absolute value. It's always relative to last year, or relative to last month, relative to last week. So this company had a model wherein any individual employee could go to the any shop, any hardware shop, buy whatever he wants, and then implement it in his workplace. And if suppose that particular improvement was done, then all you had to do is go to a board where you had to write down what improvement is done, and then based on that, the company would reimburse the amount of money he had invested. That's all, and he would only get a certificate for having implemented that. Okay. So this is the way the model used to run. And if it was a team improvement, let us say the entire team together did that, then the amount of value that they could purchase was almost 100 times the individual value, because the team decision would be much more stronger. So they could even buy a machine. Of course, the machine selection would be done by the team, but the company would order the machine, or they could get some kind of a low cost automation done. They could automate something, could do anything which could improve the productivity. Now, when they did that, the total time required for producing that product came down, and there were nobody governing them. They were doing it on their own, and that was because the motivation was basically to get their name on the board and then get that money for having implemented something, and they were not getting any award as such. Where was the award coming from? That was the interesting thing. See, in industrial engineering, for any of these manufacturing activity, there is what is called as standard time. Standard time says that how much amount of time do you require for making one component, by a normal person, a normal human being. How much time will he or she require? And that is defined as standard time. Now, this standard time is the base for doing the calculation of cost, doing the calculation of capacity, and everything. Standard time is the kind of a first element of any manufacturing industry, which would then define how much you can produce and what would be the cost of the product, etc. So this standard time is something which is fixed. So when you do such an improvement, the standard time obviously would get reduced, because the time required for producing one component would come down, because you have done some automation, or you positioned a particular tray much closer. For example, let us say you got a bin where you have to pick up washers. Now, instead of putting the washers in a jumbled condition, you did a small improvement wherein the washers would come through a small channel, which is part of the bin itself, and then you pick up one after the other, so that the picking time for the washer gets down. And when that comes down, then the assembly time also increases. Assembly time reduces, so that you can assemble more parts, because you can pick the washer easily. Or let us say you got two workstations kept against each other, and then or the right and the left hand places. Right hand you got one, and the left hand you got the other component. Instead of picking it this way, you pick it directly, then it would come down. So such improvements were being done. And also they would go in for automation, wherein they would design how to load the component, how to unload the component, etc. So when the automation was done, when such a little more expensive ones were done by the team, they would reimburse the entire amount spent by the team, or the company would buy that. Okay, so that's the base. So you're having a system where continuously improvements are happening, but the workers are not getting any benefit out of that, because the only benefit they got was they did their job themselves. That was the ownership which started off. Then what are the benefit that the workers would get? So once in 3 months, the team could decide that, look, my standard time was 10 minutes. Now I have reduced it to 8 minutes. Okay. This is something very interesting. I've reduced the standard time to 8 minutes. So I can sell back 2 minutes to the company. And that's the concept which they had said. I will sell back 2 minutes to the company, and the company pays the 2 minutes, or let us say 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. There was a rule there. So for 3 years, I got the benefit of saving 2 minutes, and that lump sum amount is shared amongst the team. Got it? That means you are basically having a setup where the company is constantly doling out money for the team to work. And this is a self-governing, fully empowered team. But because empowerment means that the leader also should be capable of empowering the team. It's not possible that the team wants to empower themselves without the leader supporting. Leader support is extremely important. So this is what happened. So on one side, the guys are doing the improvements. And for improvements, the company is reimbursing without asking whether it worked or not worked. And finally, once in 3 months, when the operators wanted, they could sell back the minutes to the company. And that was a big amount. You imagine if you are talking about saving 2 minutes and you are producing 1,000 parts a day, and you would be talking about producing, let us say, 300,000 parts a year, and 2 minutes into 300 parts is big money. It's not a small amount. And this particular company was awarded the top prize in the innovation of systems and practices in Germany by BMBF. BMBF is Bundesministerium für Forschung und BMBF, for Forschung and something else. It's basically R&D Ministry of Germany. So this ministry conducts every year a competition as to which company, something like what we have got in India, lean competition and productivity improvement competition, quality circles. So like that, this was a competition organized by the government of Germany. It was a national event, and they got the top prize in this. And I was really surprised. A lot of people asked the question, look, how is it possible that people to do that? Because don't people cheat? And there, the interesting thing was, again, the team dynamics. This particular managing director who was there, he mentioned that, look, that cheating is definitely possible. There would be maybe 1 or 2% or maybe 5% of people who want to cheat, but that means that they really didn't do any improvement at all, but collected the money from the company. Possibility number one. Possibility number two, they didn't really participate in any improvement, but then they got the money for having reduced the cycle time, reduce the standard time. So both are not very nice, because it's a kind of an unfair practice, because they didn't really contribute. And what he said was, look, since the company is so benevolent, the operators themselves control themselves. The ones who are cheating are known best to the colleagues, and they are the ones who are controlling him not to cheat, which is a very interesting mindset. Then the next one, which was also equally interesting, was that what happens if the number of people reduce? Because if your standard time comes down, the number of people required are not as many. So what do you do with that? Was the question. How do you manage that? Do you retrench them? He said, no, I don't retrench anybody. Moment I have 10 people available, I put them as another team and tell them you develop another product and start off. That company was growing, apart from being very, very highly profitable, was growing at a CAGR of about 25%. In Germany, if you see the inflation and the GDP rate, etc., would be in terms of 2 to 3% maximum. And 25% is phenomenal. If you compare that with the Indian context, we should be talking about the CAGR of 100%. That means every year the company is doubling its turnover. And that's the magnitude that this company was doing. Mainly because these guys who are experienced in that particular line where they could improve could be again put as another self-governing team for producing a new product, which could be starting from design. They have to go to the market, find out what's happening. So that's something which is governing, which is self-governing, fully empowered teams. And why don't we do that in industries? Is it not possible? I just gave a pause because think over it. It's something which is very, very interesting. And in one of my roles, we tried doing something like that. We have something similar to that in one of our factories. We call it as the top teams, which is similar to that, but not as empowered as what you see in this German company. So why is it that we don't do that? Again, come back to the mindset, because we are used to doing whatever our past and history is something which is very, very strong in what we do. And that history is something which is stored in our mind, subconscious minds, as memories, emotional memories linked to emotions, experiences linked to emotions. These experiences and memories linked to emotions create a framework, and I call it as a framework. And that framework is nothing other than mindset. And this mindset is constantly doing predictions. That's something which is very, very important to understand. If you want, I was telling yesterday, you can still, if you've not done that, you can go to the website doHow.in and then check out Libet's experiment under our videos, and you can find out what this is all about. It's a scientific proven fact that mind is constantly predicting, and this prediction is happening at every instant in real time. And therefore, I'm able to speak continuously. It's not possible for me to consciously, and the same thing will happen with you also. You can't really consciously think and speak. You speak continuously because it's something where you are somewhere it's coming from. It's not from the conscious. Consciously, I'm not even knowing which word is going to come next, but it flows, and that's happening from the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is driving the predictions, and based on these predictions, we are perceiving the reality the way it is. We are thinking by connecting the dots. We are deciding either by the gut or intuition, or by assessing the benefit and effort involved. And finally, we are acting with consistency and conviction, or responding with consistency and conviction. And these are the four aspects of the predictions and of the mindset, which drives the four aspects which are driven by the mindset: perceptions, thinking, decision making, acting, or responding. So these four fundamentally define our behavior, doesn't it? So, well, how do you change that? How do you make sure? But some people are successful, some are not successful. Not because they have got different DNA in their brains. Their hardware is more or less the same. The only difference is that the mindset, what they have got, is different. Why is the mindset different? Because they had different experiences. Can you create those experiences for them? To some extent, yes, but not to 100%, because it's not possible that you totally erase off your entire 30 or 50, in my case, 50 odd years of memory, and then put a new set of memories and experiences, so that my brain becomes that possibly is only available in the fictional world, but it possibly comes into real world after maybe 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years. I don't know. But as of now, we can't really erase the earlier memory and put a new memory. Therefore, the mindset is something which can be changed only, and that's something which is extremely important, through discussions and debates. Because adults, as we as adults, can only learn first if we are convinced that we have to learn. That is the first topic, which is important. As a kid, even though kid doesn't want to learn, you can make him sit in the class and he'll learn something and come back, or she will learn something and come back. Because as a kid, there is not that kind of a blockage saying that I'm not supposed to learn, because that's the time when the mind is growing. Mind is wanting to capture a lot of data, capture a lot of information. That's the growth phase of our brain, of our mind, not the brain. Brain is more or less constant. It doesn't really change in terms of number of neurons till we die. But the mind is constantly growing. Mind has the urge, has the thirst, has the hunger to grow. And therefore, as a kid, you make the kid sit in the class, even though the kid doesn't want to learn, it will learn. The mind will learn. Whereas as an adult, we have already reached the stage. The subconscious already understood that now you have become an adult. You are in a position to take care of yourself. You are healthy, hale and healthy, and you are able to also take care of your next generation. You are able to be part of a group. All these things, which are fundamental drivers of the mindset, are already met. So mind doesn't want to learn. Therefore, the first thing as an adult learning which has to happen is the desire to learn. And then only comes the next one, to learn something and change the mindset. Because mindset gets changed only because of emotional experiences. And to do that, the only way is to debate and discuss, which incidentally was what was being done long time ago in our universities in India, ancient Indian universities, which is more or less the same what is done in the Western universities, the one which are very, very popular in the world, and also in the top business schools in India. Discussions and debates, they are the ones which create the most impact when it comes to adult learning, not training programs, not teaching programs, because there you're only getting information. You're not in a position to reflect. You're not in a position to experience what you're supposed to be learning. You're not in a position to experiment. You're not in a position to try out. You're not in a position to respond, because most of these training programs, colleges, universities always want you to reply back the same content which is taught by the teacher. And that doesn't work that way. There you're only replying whatever that they taught. You're not really responding. You're only bouncing back whatever that person said. And that is very, very short memory. If somebody said, how are you today? I say, how are you today? So that's very easy. If somebody said, how are you today? I said, oh, I'm doing fine. How about you? That's a different way, where I perceived, understood what the person said, and then responded in a way that is totally to my individuality, to my mindset. And that has to happen. Only then the learning will happen in the case of adults. Therefore, debates and discussions are extremely important. One way of doing the debate and discussion is through using contextual hints. Contextual hints are extremely necessary because as adults, we can't be learning about something which is not necessary. Therefore, we should be talking about only those topics which make sense to us, which is important to us. Therefore, contextual hints are necessary for learning. Let us say if you are wanting to improve your team building, it doesn't make any sense in working on understanding how the nursing could be done or how you can drive a car. You can talk about anything, or why the government is not in a position to address the increase in the COVID uh, infection rate. Why is it not happening? They're totally different. You want to do team building, look at team building, and around the team building, you develop the contextual topic. That is one possibility. Second possibility is to really work with very, very systematic meetings, which I've been talking regularly, daily meeting, weekly meeting, and also the weekly topics for discussion. And meeting is something which is going to also change the mindset in organizations, which is a very structured way of doing mindset change, cultural change. And I will end with that today, because this Sunday I'm talking on mindset change and cultural change in through meetings, how it can be done, my way of thinking, my experience. Please do join and then participate. You just need to go to dinakarmurthy.com, and under services, there is the link for booking for this knowledge series webinar. Please book that, and look forward to seeing you on Monday. That will be a one-way session where it will not be something like what I'm doing now, but with presentation, with slides, and with some amount of interaction than what it is now. So look forward to seeing you there. With that, I come to the end of today's live session and also this week's live sessions. And for those of you in India, wish you a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. And both of you, don't forget to talk to your neighbors, friends, relatives, or friends on their perceptions of people-to-people interactions and what you believe or assume their perceptions would be, and what are the differences and the commonalities, so that you start a dialogue with them to establish a common collective mindset. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice weekend. See you again on Monday, more or less at the same time. Goodbye.